All right, what's up, me Duole podcast listeners? Stuart Anderson here with just a short introduction before we get on to our interview with Ventum Bikes and Diaa Nour, the CEO of that company, who shares some incredible information about their history, how Ventum started, how they build their bikes, how he creates the culture of that brand, and especially his culture for his own employees, as he shared a couple times that he doesn't run a bike company. He runs a customer service company that also sells bikes to people. So he is very committed to the experience that our team and those that buy Ventum have. So a great hour with him. So thankful for him and the Wasatch All Road that they help sponsor, and all the bikes that have been sold to the Me Duole team over the last year. Probably close to 30 Ventums on the team that are out on gravel and roads. So big shout out to this brand. Grateful to have them. Big love last night at the kit pickup at Hangar 15. Thankful to Jim Morgan and Scotty Miles who received the yellow jersey. And if you don't know, the yellow jersey in our team is worn by those of this team who are nominated by teammates as the leaders, the mentors, and those that represent the qualities of this team that should be emulated. So these two men were nominated by their teammates to wear the yellow jersey and represent us out on the road as basically what we stand for, Me Duole. So grateful to them, thankful for everybody that picked up their kits and we were able to be with last night. All of our love to you, and hopefully these last couple weeks of training before the big dance at Lodija go good. We're looking forward to Point on Saturday, Lodija the next week, and grateful to be a part of those two races. Finally, if you haven't signed up for the 5 Canyons event on September 25th, we are all in here. So all 5 canyons in one day, that's 14,000 vertical feet of climbing. All 5 canyons starting at Little Cottonwood, Big Cottonwood, Mill Creek, Immigration, and then finishing off at City Creek. So 5 Canyons is an awesome organization that provides charitable funds to charities across Utah that help with child abuse. So this isn't just a bike event. This is also an opportunity for you to help raise money for an incredible cause inside Utah. So register for 5 Canyons event, and hopefully we can see you there, because that's going to be some serious suffering. All right, on with the podcast. Thanks to everybody. All right, everybody, welcome to Me Duole podcast. So grateful to have everybody on. As you know, we're going to be doing kit pickup tonight, so you'll probably not hear this until a very successful kit pickup. Grateful for everybody. We're going to hand out 2 new yellow jerseys to teammates. So it should be a fun night. And then Lodija, Point are coming up. So good luck to everybody racing. Grateful to have our guest on today, and obviously Spence is with me, and I'm going to turn the time over to Chip to introduce our prestigious guest today.
Yes, Diaa. Thank you, Stu. Thanks so much. Looking forward to seeing everyone tonight. Today, very special guest, especially very timely guest coming off of the Wasatch All Road. Today we have Diaa Nour. He has co-founded Ventum. And when I say that, a lot of people get really excited, Diaa, because we've got, I'd say roughly 30 riders currently riding either the GS1 or the NS1.
Proud owner.
I love it. Thank you.
Diaa, he had a passion for this, and Ventum began as a passion project seeking to change the bike industry by introducing a new aerodynamic technology and the first triathlon-specific bike. And when I say that, there are a lot of, I would say a handful of triathletes on our team that already knew about Ventum when we were introducing Ventum to Me Duole. So as the CEO of Ventum, Diaa has grown the business from a humble startup in Miami to its current headquarters here in Utah. Many of you have seen those headquarters of Ventum when you've picked up your new rides up in Heber City, and where they just hosted the Wasatch All Road. he's led the development of the innovative NS1 as well. And we've got some that are ripping on the NS1 right now, preparing for Logan to Jackson coming up. Looking forward to talking about that. And then also the recent introduction of the GS1 gravel bike, which we have got, I would say close to 20 plus GS1s on the team right now.
Yep.
So want to add this, so Diaa has also traveled the world developing and being involved in sport himself. It's fun to meet a CEO that is very involved in his product. Diaa's a rider racer himself. He truly lives and tests the product that his company builds and provides for their athletes around the world. And so we have met Diaa as our team has become loving customers of Ventum bikes and have had the opportunity to really kind of try and true the Ventum product. And we've put it through the ringer. We just, we had we had a dozen people participate and accomplish and do the full Yeti at the Wasatch All Road on Saturday on the GS1. And so Ventum has done also, and we'll get into this, a very good job of equipping our team with this new product during even the pandemic when product is hard to get. And and so we'll get into that as well. So welcome today, Diaa.
Wow. Well, I think we should probably just end the podcast here because it's going to go downhill. I can't top that intro. There's nothing I'm going to say today that's going to be better than this intro. So thank you, I guess.
Diaa, my favorite thing, Chip showed me your Instagram page yesterday, and we were scrolling through or reading it all. My favorite picture is when you stopped that rider in Little Cottonwood last winter, and it was the middle of the. And you're like, this guy, we pass him, and I'm like, what is he doing? And then he's on your bike. You're like, oh my God. I could
not believe it. I mean, let me give you some context too on that. We were going up Big Cottonwood because we were going to Snowbird. There was a huge dump coming, and we were worried that the canyon would be closed the next morning. So we decided to go a day early so that we could have some fresh powder and not worry about the closed canyon. Like, that's how bad the situation was. And all of a sudden I see this guy on a bike. There's like a foot of snow next to him. I couldn't believe it. And then when I found out he was on a Ventum, I had to stop. So
that picture was just the best.
Oh man. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me on in all seriousness. And well, we value this partnership, and I'm excited to get to know you guys more. I know you know a lot of my team, specifically Megan has worked with a lot of you guys, but I haven't had a chance. I did get a chance to see a few of you over the past weekend at the Wasatch All Road. I cheered a few of you on. I know that. But I'm impressed at how organized your team is. Like, that's really, really cool. You know, I mean, a lot of teams try to be organized, but I feel like you guys really nailed it. So yeah, Thanks. Excited to be here. Excited to talk all things bikes.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll get going with it, Diaa. And on the note that you just made, I would like to make mention that. So, I was on the course that day, completed the full Yeti in about 9.5 hours, and throughout the day, I saw Diaa in, I think, 3 or 4 different places. 4 if you count the start line. As excited as you guys can see Diaa right now on this podcast, Diaa is on, and I just want to make, a lot of our members are work in big companies, work with at a chief officer level. And so everyone understands what I say when your executive team embraces what they produce. Well, Diaa is on the course all over the place, and I'm seeing him at the start line, halfway through. I'm seeing him. Diaa, if you notice me, I was the one ripping down at the very end, just fist pumping, and you were standing on the side of the road, like doing jumping jacks. I was like, this is what it means to run a business and love what you do.
I mean, and thank you for that. And honestly, I mean, I am very passionate about what we do, and this is like the pinnacle of it, right? I mean, I deal with a lot of less fun things all day, right? I mean, it's not all testing and product development, and I have little chances to interact with consumers and writers. And so naturally when I do, it's the best part of my day, right? I mean, you're not worried about supply chain shortages or long lines in Long Beach, in customs being 3 months behind. These are the things that, we the challenges we try to overcome during the day to day. And so to be able to see people enjoying the bike, it takes me back. I mean, this is why I started this company. This is why I'm in the business. So it's just so easy to be so excited, and I just didn't want to miss a second of it. So yeah, I rented a Razor and I was going up the Wasatch Wall, and then I had my car parked in a certain area, and I had some people pick me up and drop me off, but I just didn't want to miss a second of it, and it was so worth it.
Yeah, so good. I can't wait to talk more about Wasatch All Road and kind of do a recap of it. But if we want to go back a little bit and talk a little bit about the journey of Ventum, we just want to hear the development from you and how Ventum came about. And we're so excited that Ventum is in our backyard here in Heber City. It makes it so convenient for us to pick up our bikes rather than wait for shipping, and then to have this new event in our backyard. And you mentioned Barrett earlier, so everyone knows Barrett is their CFO, another important key individual in setting the course and trying and truing. I mean, he is the strongest person I have ever ridden.
He's the strongest rider I know. I mean, I think he missed his calling. He was a professional triathlete in the Ironman distance. Well, he started even smaller distances, but then moved up to Ironman. And I think he missed his calling because I think he could have been a pro tour rider. There's no doubt about it. He works crazy hours and still has some time to train. And he did Unbound. I think he finished 20th or 21st at Unbound. Obviously, he really wanted to do the full, and he just couldn't. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on, and we just, obviously, it's more important to have a successful race than a successful result. So he did the mini, and obviously, I mean, he won it and did very, very well. And but he's fantastic. He's such an important part of this team, and like I said, I remember before we even started recording, it's hard to find me without him or him without me at any given time. So that's really good. Yeah,
dude, those guys even drop off. You don't even have to go get your bike sometime. They're delivering them to people's houses.
We do, and that takes me to the question that you asked me, because I think it's a good one. It's like, why and the how. Because if you look at when we started in 2014 is when we incorporated, and we actually came to market at the end of 2015. It was a very saturated market. We came in to the triathlon segment, and people looked at us and like, what are you doing? It's the smallest market segment of the cycling industry, and it's the most saturated and most competitive one. And you're going after a customer base that is used to, just excellence across all their products. I mean, as you guys know, triathletes can be very type A and very meticulous, as they should, with their equipment and with the nutrition and with their training plans. And so, like, why you started the hardest, side of this. And reason was, at the time, my brother was a professional triathlete. My significant other at the time was also a professional triathlete. I was surrounded by triathlon, and I just saw a disconnect. And the disconnect that I saw was both on the product side and on the sales side. On the product, I looked at triathlon that is a mass participation sport. It was the second fastest growing sport after golf at the time. Yet no one was making a non-draft legal triathlon-specific bike. And I didn't understand that point, right? So they would do is they would take UCI bikes, obviously slap on a TT front end, or just have a UCI legal TT bike. Well, why are we following the Cycling Federation's governing body that has nothing to do with Ironman? So the UCI, for many reasons we can get into later, they put rules on bikes and weights and tube shapes and ratios and all over the place, right? But that doesn't mean, and that's to keep the sport fair, for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of the things it does is it doesn't allow you to make the most aerodynamic bike possible, right? And so by moving away from their shapes, their tube sizes, their ratios, and the rules, you can actually make a much faster bike. But no one was doing it at the time. And I think the reason they weren't doing it is triathlon prior to that didn't have the mass participation, so it just didn't make fiscal sense. So that's why you just took your TT bike that was UCI legal and used it. So we saw kind of that opening, and that's where we came in with the Ventum 1, which is our flagship bike, the triathlon bike. It was built from the ground up in the wind tunnel. And you look at it, you know, it looks like a spaceship, but it does not look like your traditional bike. It has no seat stays, has no down tube. The aerofoils are very different. It has a 1.4 liter hydration that's built into a top tube. But we were able to really develop the fastest bike possible for triathletes in the wind tunnel. And then we were able to also think like triathletes, right? So, for example, you know, aerodynamics trumps pretty much everything. As long as you don't have like a 50-pound bike, that statement will be true. And so, but for example, bottles and bottle cages, they create drag. So a lot of people were testing these bikes out there naked. So you have a bike in the wind tunnel, nothing on it. I don't know a single human that could do an Ironman without taking a sip of water. But at least the bike section, 112 miles with no sip of water, that's hard. And so what they were doing, though, they just weren't giving you the real data. They weren't giving you the real stat, because once you put the bottle cages and bottles on the bike slowed down significantly. So what we did is we developed a hydration system that completes the frame of the bike and allows you to carry your fluids and makes the bike faster. So we're the only bike company in the world till this day where the hydration on the bike makes the bikes faster. So if you could do it without hydration, you would leave the bottle empty. So those are a couple of examples of what we were able to do and think of, because we didn't come in from the traditional cycling route and thinking about the UCI. So that was kind of our humble beginnings in 2015. And then, as you guys know, and you mentioned it in the intro, we moved over. We never wanted to stop there. We knew we were going to get some other, we're going to enter other market segments. And so the very next one was the road segment, and that was with the Ventum NS1. In some ways, the NS1 is a bit harder and challenging to bring to market because we had to play in that UCI sandbox. And so we're looking at the bikes and saying, well, where do we position ourselves? It gets a bit more difficult. Where is it going to be our competitive edge? And I think where we settled on, well, I know very well where we settled on, was we looked at the industry. They were doing the traditional round bikes for climbing. They're super light. And then they were doing heavier, more aerodynamic bikes for your fast flats. And we understood why the industry is doing it. They want you to buy 2 bikes instead of 1. But we really felt that there was a cross section there that you could make a lightweight aerodynamic bike that will still climb well, but also rip on the flats. And so that's the essence of the Ventum NS1. And it's interesting because both on the triathlon side with the Ventum 1, we were kind of pioneers, and then other makers, big manufacturers, started making what they call non-traditional bike frames. And the P5X is a perfect example of one from Cervelo. And the same thing happened when we kind of pioneered that segment on the road side, where Specialized's last bike, which is phenomenal, is very much speaks to what we just said, which is like this lightweight aero combo, this all-in-one bike. So, it got well received, and it quickly actually overtook the sales of triathlon. Naturally, because triathlon is a smaller market, but it did surprise us how quickly that scaled. And then, as you guys know, last year in December, we launched the Ventum GS1, which it's hard to pick, for my children, but that might be my favorite bike of them all. And what we did there is we decided to take all the technology and everything that we've learned from Tri and Road, both in the manufacturing and design, and implement it in a gravel bike. Gravel is a very fast growing segment. It's the second fastest growing segment after e-bikes. And I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think gravel is going to skyrocket. And it was a little bit of the wild, wild west. People were using mountain bikes, some were using cross bikes, aluminum frames, carbon frames. And so it was just nobody knew what the gearing was going to be. So what we wanted to do is bring, standardize a little bit and bring some conformity to the sport and a standard. And both our engineers, like teams, as well as our manufacturing teams, thought it was overkill. Like, we're spending way too much money developing this lightweight, stiff, carbon, aerodynamic gravel bike. Like, no one's going to buy this thing. It's like, why are you integrating all the cables? Why is it only 17 pounds? Why are you spending all this money? And at the time I said, because that's what we do, right? We are a high performance racing a company, and that's what we're doing. We're not going to bring a subpar product. So at the time, I was arguing, with the team, using that argument, and also saying, like, look, like, there are Dirty Kansas 200 miles. There's the XL 350. You're alone sometimes like 90% of that race. Well, guess what? Aerodynamics is going to play a role if you can't hide behind a pack. So, those are some of the arguments. And then really what happened there, to be frank, is we got very, very lucky, because we came out with a product that we like to call performance gravel. And and then COVID hit, right? And then you guys know what happened. All our group rides on the road kind of went away. So you're riding alone. A lot of people didn't feel safe riding alone on the roads and decided to start moving towards gravel, because obviously of fewer or no cars in some situations. And so because the biggest market move came from road to gravel, as opposed to, say, mountain biking to gravel, well, roadies really care about speed, right? Roadies still want to go fast, right? And a mountain biker is maybe a bit more technical, but is probably used to being, going 8-9 miles an hour for the whole day. That's not us. And so I think because of all that, and because of the movement came from road to gravel, our product was exceptionally well received, right? Because it is performance gravel. And by the way, the aerodynamic penalty between the road and gravel bike is almost non-existent. Right. And so marketing is literally going to ask you to cut this out, because what I do is I will when I travel, I will take my gravel bike and 2 sets of wheels. One is 31s. I put my MVs and I put 31 tires on there. And then one is my gravel 43 setup, right? Or 42. Yeah. And that's it. And that's all I need. Now, granted, again, they're going to hate me because that means I'm cannibalizing sales here. But the point that I'm making is it's that aerodynamic that I am riding this thing all over the place. I will say the gearing, you have to be careful in your gearing selection if you want to do it all. Right. So like my gearing setup for, like, say, going to Wasatch all road, it was just kind of like the standard gearing I have on my gravel bike isn't awesome on the road. Right. I run out of gears all the time. But hey, if you don't want to travel with 2 bikes, you can do that and it's perfectly fine. So yeah. So that's what happened. Right. And then in 2019, I realized, so I self-funded this company from inception. And it's very, very expensive, it turns out. Yeah. Good thing I didn't know that when we started, because I don't think I'd have done it. But in 2019, like, I became the bottleneck. Like, we grow 40% year over year, and I'm becoming the bottleneck. And so I went out and raised some outside capital, and we got some institutional money that came in. And the one requirement was they wanted us to move to Utah. I don't know if you took out all like the verbiage, I'm not sure I could have pointed to Utah on the map when I was in Miami. But I was like, sight unseen, yes, signed. And then we moved to Utah, and it was the single best decision of my life. Yeah. I absolutely love it here. I would use an expletive, but I'm going to refrain. But like, I absolutely love it here. Yep. It is so good. I mean, the riding is second to none. The people are awesome. The views, the vistas, like, it's just been great. Initially I said to myself, no worries. This is work. This is life. And this is what I do. And I'm passionate about it. I'll just go buy a tiny little condo and stay in Heber City Monday through Thursday, and then fly, quote unquote, home on Thursday night to Sunday into South Beach. I've been here 2 years. I've been to South Beach once. So. Wow. Yeah.
Oh man, that is such a good history, Diaa. That's so fun to hear that, and we are glad that you guys have landed here and that you love it here so much. It's just.
Well, it's even fun to hear your story about the gravels, because at the time when Chip and I would like ask the team, like, hey, do you need, like, Ventum has them, like, let's go. And then out of the woodwork, just guys are like, let's do it. I want one. I need it. And these are guys that have ridden the same old ponies for 10, 12 years. They've loved their whatever brand they were. Yeah. And it was so fun to see all these new dudes getting just awesome bikes. So fun.
I love it. That makes me so happy to hear. No, we're ecstatic to be here. We're excited to continue. developing a lot of products here, and yeah, we were happy to be able to deliver bikes during the pandemic. We have a different model, right? And that's the thing. I come from a tech background. So my previous life was in tech and IT and telecom. And I think that serves me well because I came in and just decided to do things differently, right? Like when we started this conversation, I said, like, look, I saw some inefficiencies or some issues on the product side, but also on the sales side, right? And we talked about the product side, but on the sales side, I didn't feel that the price tag of these machines and the service you received when purchasing them matched. And let me stop here and say that I do strongly support like independent bike shops. I do. I think they're necessary and they're great. And I think there's some that are exceptional, but there are some that are less than exceptional. Mm-hmm. And so depending on where you go, you may have a good experience or a horrific one. And so one of the things I love to do is I do it less and less now, just because although I'm not known at all in any industry, but in the bicycling industry with hair like this, when I walk in, sometimes they'll recognize me. So I can't do it as much as I used to. Maybe I should wear a wig. I don't know. Anyways, long story short, I would go in and I would secret shop. And I would go up to a $16,000 Trek Madone and I would say, hey, wow, this is a really nice bike. And there is a 19-year-old or a teenager who is on summer break from college who is assisting me, and he goes, oh yeah, this is fast. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And then I will point to a Specialized Shiv, which is a completely different bike, and I'm like, what about this one? And he's like, oh my God, this one is so fast. And and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I'm about to drop $15,000 or $16,000. I consider us, we are selling Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Like, do you imagine going to a Ferrari dealership and have a kid that tell you like, dude, bro, this is so fast. So like that doesn't, it doesn't make sense. Right. And so when I was looking at that, that was an inefficiency. I was like, we can't do this. We gotta hold the entire ecosystem, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to know your customer, right? Like special traditional, distributor, right? The routes, they don't know their customer. They know their dealer. That's where it stops. Specialized, and I'm not picking on them, but or Cannondale, whoever you wanted to pick, they don't know the customer. They know their bike shop. But then how do you know your customers? And how do you know what's good, what's bad? Where's the feedback coming from? It's always coming from your dealer. Could be a good dealer, could be a really bad dealer. It's kind of a crapshoot, right? And so that to me didn't sit well, right? And then the last thing that didn't sit well is accountability. It's happened to me. I'm sure someone has happened to, or maybe it happened to you as well, where you have, well, actually, I'll tell you, this was in 2010. I won't tell you the manufacturer, but the rear derailleur hanger did not do its job, which is to brake, right? The hangers are soft on purpose. Yeah, they can bend easily and should always carry a spare, especially when you're traveling or put in the car. But the point of them being soft and breaking off is so that they can save your frame, which is very expensive, or save your rear derailleur, which is also probably the most expensive part of your componentry, right? So that's their job. Well, my rear derailleur didn't break, and instead it broke the chainstay. It cracked the chainstay and seat stay right where it is, right? Mm-hmm. Unrideable. I'll cut the story a little short, but essentially the result was I went to the dealer. The dealer blamed the manufacturer blamed the dealer, and 12 weeks later, I didn't have a bike to ride. Right. And I'd spent thousands and thousands of dollars. That's not acceptable. So because we hold the entire ecosystem, right? There's only one person to blame. It's me. And by the way, we're not perfect, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that we haven't had any warranty issues. Of course we do. That's normal, right? As long as they're under a certain level, it's normal. So now, something happens, I deal with it, and it's on me, and I can react quickly, right? You had mentioned it on the delivery side, being a direct-to-consumer brand, some people get a little intimidated by receiving a bike on a box. There's a certain German manufacturer that delivers in boxes that has somewhat a reputation of being hard to put together if you don't know what you're doing. So we're very aware of that. And so the way we solve that pain point is that we deliver our bikes in 2 ways. Now, you guys have a very unique situation that you're down the road and you can come and pick them up. But if you didn't, we have 2 ways of doing it. One is that we have a van system that covers 80% of America. And we literally fully assemble your bike. We'll seat your tires. We'll do everything. Wow. And then we'll come to your house. We will adjust your saddle height. We'll help you move your pedals. If you have an existing bike that you need the pedals moved over, that's the kind of service I believe anyone should expect when buying anything in that price range, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one way. The other way, unfortunately, there's some areas in Montana, some areas of Texas we just can't get to. It's not scalable yet. And what we do there is we have a ride ready box that's enormous. And, you know, Barry Brandon could sleep in it. That's how big this thing is. But the beauty about it is that the bike comes fully assembled, handlebars on, handlebar tape, rear derailleur on, this chain is on, your wheels sit on both sides seated. And all you got to do is put your wheels together and go. I mean, I can do it in 5 minutes. So a first time we would do it in 10. So yeah, so that's kind of, you know, a brief history and a brief kind of a summary of the how, the wow, where we came from, what we're doing. And I truly believe a lot of this stuff I'm able to do because I didn't come from the industry, right? It's just so easy to keep doing the same thing, especially if it's working financially, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But just because it's working financially doesn't necessarily mean it's working for the consumer.
Well, the consumers on our side have been really excited about it, Diaa. And when finishing the Wasatch All Road, I mean, you really create a lifer out of the one using that bike because it was so hard. That event is hard. And could you tell us, did Jeff, we know all the locals here would know Jeff Lauder, and everyone's kind of getting to know Barrett, who's your right-hand man there, who has been riding that course for the last couple of years while being up there. And at some point, one of them, likely Barrett, was like, okay, this is perfect. 100 miles over 12,000 vertical feet. And this is perfect. Let's roll with this. And I told Barrett on the course out there one Saturday when I was up there, I said, Barrett, the person like you, that this is like, I gotta tell you, Barrett, I'm a pretty strong guy, and this is so hard. It might not be hard for you. Maybe you're the wrong guy to be designing a course like this. So what's your feedback on just the designing of the Wasatch All Road by itself?
No, that's a great question. So it's meant to be hard, right? And I mean, this is subjective, but given the distance and the mileage, this should be the hardest gravel race in America. And that's kind of how we designed it. And you know, I mean, like, think about it. You said 9.5 hours. I mean, you're talking like Ironman time on your feet, right? Or not feet, but I guess pedaling on the bike, right? So that's what we wanted to do. The success and what you should be proud of isn't the time, it's finishing it, right? And so that should have been the goal, not like, oh, I hope I have a good day out there. It's like, no, if I finish this thing, then I did it, I win. And that's kind of how the mindset came to. And also, I mean, it's funny because a lot of people understood that. I think mostly my friends that came out of DC, because that's where I'm originally from, who like literally wanted to ride road bikes. I'm like, guys, what are you doing here? Like, you're at altitude. You know, I think some people underestimated the course, but no one. I mean, the feedback that we've gotten is so positive. It's so positive. Like, all the people that finished it, you know, felt like it was such an achievement, and it is such an achievement. So we definitely wanted to make it hard. I think we accomplished that goal. I think that the people that finished it were extremely excited, proud of their accomplishments. I think the people that didn't, I was worried that a lot of people would be upset, but the vast majority is saying, I'm coming back next year and I'm going to finish it. And I love that. I love that. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is not, you know, there are other races that will give you, you know, gravel that almost feels like road for the whole time. That is not that kind of race. This will truly test you. So.
And Diaa, are you guys, I mean, is there, so plans for next year, It's moving
100%.
forward, like vision for the, okay, 100%.
100%. And I've been sworn to secrecy. You know, we're going to make some changes that have been sworn to secrecy. So I'll just tell you, but just between the three of us.
Dude, you already burned the marketing department.
I know. Let me, I'm okay with the marketing department being upset at me, but Barrett, that changes things around a little bit. So I will tread lightly. But what I will say is, it will definitely be bigger next year. I mean, for a first year event, we're very happy with how it turned out, but we will hopefully COVID dependent. It should be probably twice the number of riders. We're also going to introduce a middle distance. So right now you have the mini Yeti, which is the 35 miler, or the full, which is the 100. We're going to introduce a third distance that will probably be roughly between 70 and 75 miles.
Yep.
Which I think will appeal to a lot of people as well. Especially for the folks that did the 35, which was challenging. And if it was especially challenging for them, I think that's quite a leap to go from the 35 if it pushed you to the 100.
Yes.
But maybe that middle step, I think is warranted. So that I'll give you that. He can't get mad at me for that. Yeah.
I would even say that people would almost anticipate that, like, because many, after you go down to Strawberry and then you come back up, you're like, okay, I think that is all I can handle. To go down that third section down into Mill Hollow, it's like, and here's what's really cool. This is for everyone listen, and for the organizers, I think this is so cool. The gravel gets better on each climb and descent. So the very first one is the Wasatch Wall. It's the hardest. The second one is Strawberry. The gravel gets a little bit better, but it is a long climb, but the gravel is a little bit better. The third one, when you're coming up Mill Hollow, it's like that road gravel that Diaa was talking about earlier. It's like a little smoother. So, at least it gets better.
Yeah. Can you imagine if we did it the other way around?
No. Impossible. No way.
No one would show up.
No,
I can promise you that.
I would wear hiking boots and pack my bike on my back with the little ticket that scans every time I go past a passing point. I'd run it.
Man.
You know what was so cool, Diaa, also was that Ventum is able to host this in your HQ, in your office there in the parking lot, and then you have this huge field for the parking and for the finish line. It's like, what a way to introduce Ventum to Utah by hosting the toughest gravel race at your facility.
Yeah, no, we were very lucky to be able to do that. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to connect with the community, right? Because, and by the way, I don't even mean the athletic community. I mean the complete community. We had to work with different counties and cities and volunteers, and it's amazing. Like, I mean, we want to come here and make a difference and make an impact, of course, through sports, but also, for the entire economy. And so, that's kind of one of things that I'm a bit of a stickler about is if you're going to come in, assimilate and help. And that was one way for us to assimilate and help, right? I mean, we probably sold out all the hotel rooms in Heber City and those sort of things. The restaurants probably got an uptick. So it checks a lot of the boxes.
That's really
my only request. Whatever it takes.
Tell me.
We got to get Lance next year. We got to bring him in.
Oh, well, he almost came. I didn't push him too hard. I could make that happen. You know what? I'll say it on this podcast. He will be at the race next year.
Yeah.
It was probably my favorite thing from his Move podcast. It was one of those early days when he was talking about Ventum and he was so excited. And then I don't know who gave him his script, but he was like, located in the Uinta Mountains of Utah. And I was like, the Uinta Mountains? I was like,
that's hilarious. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, look, I always tread very carefully when I speak about him. He's a dear friend of mine, and obviously I just, I want to make sure that I understand people have different positions on his fast and whatnot. But I would love for him to come next year. It would be fantastic. Awesome. Yeah.
So you guys knew each other before this? Did you know?
Yeah. No, I've known him for about 10 years now. Or at least I met him about 10 years ago. So prior to that, and then it was, his adoption of Ventum was extremely organic. So essentially, we were coming out with the NS1, and I said, "Hey, LA, I'd love to send you this bike and get your honest feedback." And I don't know if you guys know him pretty well or not, but he's extremely harsh. Like, he will tell you how he feels. And so he says, "Diaa, are you sure?" And he mentions a big brand. He goes, "Just sent me a bike. I returned it. It's, expletive." And then this other bike company also sent me this bike. It was the worst thing ever. He's like, "You sure you want me to do this? Because I will destroy it." I was like, "Oh boy." I was like, yeah, I'm sure." So we sent him the NS1. It was literally just murdered out, no logos, nothing. It's just like one, like right off the mold. So we sent it to him, kind of explained to him the ethos of it and whatnot. And I didn't hear a thing from him for 2 weeks. And I'm just like, oh man, this isn't good. I'm thinking about the future and this. And one day I just get a selfie of him on the bike, and it says, "It's good. It's effing good." And that's all he said.
Yes.
But his favorite bike now is the GS1.
Yeah.
He loves that thing. So we sent him one earlier this season, and he did I forgot which gravel race somewhere in Aspen, like a 72-mile race.
Yeah.
First time on the and he won the race. Yeah. And of course, it's because of the bike, right? It has nothing to do with his legs. And so, so now, so that the partnership is very organic. It's really nice to see him back us. So I'm overall, I'm very happy. Yeah,
nice.
So cool.
That's rad. Great story.
Yeah,
very cool. That is a strong partner and ambassador of your product, and I mean, I follow him, and I look at the bike, and sometimes he's got some custom paint jobs on the Ventum. It's like, man, this is really cool to see this happening. That because we're cheering for you, Diaa, here as a local business, and then watching Lance Armstrong and ride it and crush it on it. It's so cool, so fun.
Yeah, it really is. It's been amazing, and obviously it's been amazing also for the brand. So, he is still the greatest and most influential cyclist. So,
nice.
I agree. What another partner? So everyone here listening would agree that your wheel set is, the next. In some cases around here, it's like the most important part of your ride, and you link up with Envy. And so this build together is just like what you were saying earlier. Is that many gravel bikes? If you go back a couple years and you had bought a gravel bike, anyone would agree with me that you had to completely customize your group set. No gravel bike was coming into the market with like a 40 in the front and a 52 in the back, which is
correct.
Now considered the mullet. And no one was doing that. And I was like, no, I want to take my gravel bike where I mountain bike, because the terrain is good enough. I can get there on the cement. I can get there faster. I can ride it with this gearing. If I put that gearing on, you're crazy to put that gearing on. No, I'm telling you, I need this gearing on this bike. And now, and so Ventum's off the shelf comes with like the option for the mullet. And it's like, of course I want it big in the back and like a 40 in the front. And
you know what? Thank you. And you know what? That is a direct result of exactly what we were talking about when on the triathlon side, the bike was made by triathletes. On the gravel side, from production to choice of spec, we lean on so many experts. And I mean experts not as in like a scientist with a lab coat. I'm talking like true gravel riders that have done exactly what you said, So why? It's nonsensical. Why would I do something where I'm going to force somebody to spend more money to switch out their specs when they get a brand new bike? Why don't we spec it exactly like they want, right? And that's, again, one of the advantages of us being direct to consumer and being assembled, delivered, and finished everything in Utah is that we can spec. I mean, I think across all bikes, we have 60,000 different combinations. So we can afford that, as opposed to, say, Asian manufacturing and assembly, where they assemble, whatever happens there, it gets assembled there and it comes over in that way. You can't really change it, right? And so that's one of the advantages that we have. But again, you got to listen to the market. You got to listen to the experts that are on, quote unquote, on the field. And that's why we do that. And then as for Envy, I mean, that's like one of my favorite brands in the world. I think they do such a good job. I love the fact that they're up the road from us in Ogden. And honestly, I think we should just team up and take over the world, in my opinion.
That's so cool. Well, when you review like your ambassadors and those riding them with Lance and George, and then you've got the other products like Envy on the as your wheel type. It's like it's definitely the complete package. So props to you, Diaa, for putting it all together. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be honest with you guys. It has not been easy during COVID and the supply chain that I think we should probably touch on, where, I mean, it's getting worse and worse. We were lucky last year that when COVID hit, Utah was a bit more open with businesses, not so much retail, but we were allowed to come to work. We were allowed to assemble bikes. We were allowed to ship them out. So it's interesting because 2020, we would get all this feedback. Like, I cannot believe you were able to get me my bike. That's crazy. My bar is closed. My restaurant's closed. I don't see it, but you guys were able to deliver the bike. So I think we pleasantly surprised a lot of people. This year, I think it plays against us a little bit where, I mean, I'm sure you understand the situation where there's absolutely no components from Shimano, SRAM. Our lead times went from days to years. And then there's one part and one vendor that's 591 days out. So if I put an order in today, I get I don't even know if that model will exist in 591 days, let alone, right? And unfortunately, there are 46, depending on the bikes, but 46 different parts that go on it, sometimes come from 30 different vendors. So if one vendor is off, I can't do anything, right? And so, this year, the supply chain has really been disrupted. And now we're still able to fulfill bikes. We have slowed down a little bit. And that's truthful. We're still not as bad as the big boys who are taking orders for 2023. And the reason we're still able to fulfill is what I mentioned earlier, is our inventory is on the shelf and it's put on the bike when the order comes, as opposed to it being assembled in Asia. And then it comes, and it's tied to a bike. And if I need that componentry for a gravel bike, well, I can't use it. It's on a road bike. So we're able to use our inventory a little bit more efficiently. But there is a raw material shortage of rubber, steel, alloy, you name it. There's a global container shortage from Asia. The ports are overwhelmed. Long Beach, which is what we use in California, has never seen anything like this since it was built. And so they used to be able to clear a container the same day. So it arrives on Tuesday morning. That thing's on a truck coming to us on Tuesday afternoon. The last container took 3 months to clear. That's how backlogged they are, right? And again, if you've got derailleurs sitting there, or a fork, or a stem, or bar tape, and then another way that we've been able to fulfill bikes when others haven't is that, we are direct to consumer, which means I'm not giving a big margin to a dealer. So I'm okay going onto the market and buying things at retail to deliver a bike. We're doing that all the time. We're buying tires at retail. We're buying tubes at retail. We're buying just everything you can think of. Bar tape at retail. I mean, that's just the nature of it. Sometimes we need a, like Shimano doesn't have say, or SRAM. This is actually a real example. Is out of SRAM red shifters. So we're buying them at retail. It hurts our margin, but we're able to do that and still deliver bikes and still make people happy. Now, the one part I said that it plays against us is that the supply chain, and I guess the whole bike industry really, the supply chain today is way, way, way worse than it was a year ago. But customer sentiment isn't where it was a year ago. A year ago, they were just thankful that we were able to bring a bike. But now it's back to life as usual. And so there is a bit of, and I understand it, a lack of patience. It's like, well, Amazon's delivering things next day. Like, everything's fine. Like, why can't you get your act together? Is I think what the bike industry is facing and is about to face, because usually supply chain issues don't happen immediately. They take 12, 18 months to really, peak. And I think we're at that peak. So.
Dang. What's interesting, Diaa, is we've seen it on your social media. You've consistently said that you're trying to spread happiness on bikes.
Yes.
And it's interesting to hear you say that you're willing to go buy that stuff I mean, that is like living your mission. Has that kind of become the adopted theme of your culture? Is that like what you say to your employees, or?
My employees would say something a little different where, I start every meeting the same way. I mean, everybody can regurgitate what I'm about to say. I say, hello, welcome to Tuesday morning, all hands on deck meeting. Just want to remind everyone, we're not a bike company that has a customer service department. We're a customer service company that today happens to be selling bikes. And that's really the pillar, right? And that's because that's what's going to also separate ourselves from the others, right? Is customer service. I would be foolish to sit here and tell you our bikes are way, way superior than Specialized or, somebody who's done it. That's silly, right? We all make it's like we're Lamborghinis and Ferraris. They have different ethos and different strategies on how they come to market and what they focus on. But you can't tell me that a Ferrari is awful and a Lamborghini is great or vice versa. Same thing. So you got to find your way to kind of also separate yourself from there. And so we really, really pride ourselves in the customer service, and hope to continue as we scale and to continue providing that customer service and that extra mile, right? Whether it's buying stuff at retail or, I've flown to Mexico to hand over a rear derailleur hanger for a professional athlete because they broke theirs the day before the race, stuff like that. So
nice. Wow. Very cool. Yeah. Any, as we wrap up, the team's
already
asking about, wow. Before we wrap, what we usually do ask everybody though, any advice, like there are a lot of young guys on this team, and you've been in this industry a lot. Any advice for just personal advice you would give out to a new cyclist or any cyclist just in general?
To be a better cyclist or to be a better person or to be a better...
better person.
It's going to sound super cheesy, but I'm going to say it. Bet on yourself, believe in yourself. I can't tell you how hard it can be to start a bike business, especially when you're small and people are going to dismiss you. People are going to say tell you to quit before you start. People are like, there's no way you're going to be able to compete with the big boys. These are billion-dollar companies. What are you bringing to the table? What's your background? Where's your engineering? So all this stuff, all this nonsense, and sometimes it does get to me. I'll be honest. I'm not bulletproof, but if you believe in yourself, you continue to do what you think is right. And by the way, this is for business, but it's also I'll give you a perfect example actually for my sports life. When I'm excited about something, I perform better at it. When I truly believe I can go up that Wasatch wall, I crush it. And the days that I'm literally doubting myself for no other reason than laziness or lack of focus or whatever, I sometimes don't make it up. I'm the same athlete, right? I'm not sick. I'm not, it's just why. So it's the mindset that you put yourself in. Put yourself in a successful mindset. No matter what, you will be successful. Whether it's a business, whether it's on the bike, or whether it's in school, whatever you want to apply that to.
Dang, that's awesome. Very cool. Any big? Can you release any big secrets for what the future holds? Any mountain
why
bikes
not?
On the?
Let's just piss off R&D. So here's what I'll say. We are we've announced it, but we are releasing our Ventum 1 disc, new Ventum 1, which is our TT bike. That will debut in St. George, 7.3 on September 16th, I believe is the race. So that will be our very big next release. But one thing I will promise, we will always stay at the leading edge of innovation, right? And so we are not interested in being deaf to the market demands and just holding on to product lines just to hold on to them, right? We got to innovate. I mean, you had mentioned it earlier about the mullet, right? So we'll always be in tune. So if we need to make changes, or if we need to innovate quickly, we always will. That's just my way of telling you that, we're not going to be an Apple iPhone, where a new version comes out every year, but we are going to be innovating and consistently making ourselves better. And yes, we want to enter more segments, right? But let's make sure we do it right, and let's make sure that we finish our jobs in the current market segments first, right? I could give you a pretty crazy stat that Ventum today holds 0.07% of the market in road, gravel, and triathlon. 0.07%. So there's a lot of work to be there, right? And so I do want to make sure I want to focus and introduce the brand to as many people as you can, and to really grow those market segments before we start just jumping in mountain and e-bike and all the natural other verticals that we should be getting into.
Very cool.
Man.
We can't wait. The Duole will be
Me
there.
too. That's what I like to hear.
Right.
Nice.
So cool.
Well, Chip, anything else?
Yeah, Diaa, just thanks from our whole team for the support that we've had through 2021. We've been thrilled to have the product. We've been thrilled with the service that you've mentioned. We were so stoked on the Wasatch All Road. So just thanks for making it a great year for Utah cyclists and for our team altogether.
Just when I thought he wasn't going to be able to beat that intro, he brings out this outro. My God. Thank you guys. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm the one who's thanking you guys and for all your support. Like, again, talk about being part of the community. I don't think we could have done it without you guys. So thank you for facilitating that. And thank you for trusting us and continuing to support us. We'll do the same. There's no doubt.
Awesome. Yep.
Thanks, man.
Thanks again.
Let's go ride that wall soon.
That's right.
All right.
Hey,
Thanks
Diaa.
again for having me on.
You bet, man. Appreciate it.
All righty. We'll talk soon.
See you later.
See ya.
Bye-bye.